Repetition is the key to mastery. As I stand here today, I have recorded 22 trainings for New Christian Coaches Academy Library, 22 trainings in the last few weeks. And that is beyond what I'd ever done before in the history of Faith2Influence. But I had done something similar, which is that I recorded a course, a sales course in 2019 when Faith2Influence was still pretty new, about 1 year into running our business. And I remember that experience of standing in front of the camera and recording for the camera rather than recording for real listeners. And I remember being uncomfortable. I remember having knots in my stomach. I remember feeling like this thing's going to live forever. People are going to judge this. I need to be perfect. And I stressed myself out so much, wanting to say the perfect thing, wanting to stand the perfect way, worrying about what people would think of me. And the truth is, even though I felt uncomfortable for 2 days recording that course, and I wasn't super excited about the finished product, which I never watched, by the way, because it would just be putting myself through even more turmoil. At least that's how I felt at the time. So many people got value from the training that I recorded over those 2 days. And what's amazing to imagine is how far I've come. I remember the same thing as well with recording like Facebook Lives. I remember when I was brand new, recording a video and then sharing it on Facebook to make social posts. And I remember that I would record a video, watch it. It'd be like 5 minutes, watch the 5 minutes, beat myself up a little bit, then record the next video and then watch it and then judge myself and then record the next video and watch it and maybe finally be like, okay, that one's good enough, and post it. And so I remember the idea of doing a live video being terrifying. And I did it, but it was really scary when I did it. And it was really scary for a long time. And even recording podcast episodes like this felt really scary for a long time. And the truth is, now having recorded these 22 trainings, and I've got 10 more I'm going to be recording over the next 6 weeks, but 22 trainings in a few weeks, it didn't feel so heavy. It didn't feel so scary. I didn't judge myself over and over. In fact, nearly every single training was done in one take, and I just allowed myself to make mistakes. I've already made mistakes in this podcast episode. Some of you heard it when I made mistakes. Some of you didn't because you just half listened and you moved on and you accepted me at what I could have said and you understood what I meant to say. But I allow myself now to make some mistakes, to be authentic, to do my best, and to move forward, and to remember that done is better than perfect. But I've worked so hard over the last years at self-love, giving myself a little bit of grace, giving myself a little bit of patience. These things have been really important to me. And I've also had so many repetitions now. It's cool to see how far I've come over the last few years, that recording trainings on video without an audience doesn't feel big and scary anymore. In fact, it feels pretty easy most of the time. And I'm pretty happy with the results most of the time. And I know that my clients are really appreciative. My audience is really appreciative of my efforts. And they receive me in my authentic voice as I share it. And I don't have to think really hard about my voice either. I don't have to pretend or try to be something I'm not. I could just get to show up and talk and be me. And what's the difference? What's the difference between then, when it felt horrible and I felt sick for 2 days trying to record that course, and now when recording the course felt pretty easy? It actually felt kind of fun. I felt proud of myself along the way. I felt like I was celebrating along the way. Like, that was a really good training. I was patting myself on the back a little bit, knowing that I was doing a good job rather than wondering whether or not I was doing good enough. Well, the difference is nothing more than repetition. Repetition is the key to mastery. The key to being great at everything or anything is to be in a season of transformation where we have repetitions until we get better. And so if you want to be great at a sport, we all know this, you have to practice to be ready for the game. And as you practice more and more and more, you get better. If you want to be great at an instrument, it's the same thing. If you want to be great at dance, it's the same thing. If you want to be great at business or sales or marketing, it's the same thing. We need repetitions to become great, to reach the first level of mastery, and then more repetitions to reach the second level of mastery, and then more repetitions to reach the third level. And if we're humble enough, we continue to seek repetitions and growth and progress, gain new awarenesses, learn new things, find new mentors, and take that next step in the journey. We trust the process and we focus on improving through repetitions. The same thing is true with sales. If you want to become great at sales, I promise you there's no better way to do it than to have more calls, have more sales conversations, to get the repetitions in. And the challenge here oftentimes is we want to be great before we act. Man, I would have loved 4 years ago to have had confidence that I was great, that I could do this training, that I could record that course. I would have loved to have already felt great during those 2 days, because those 2 days were agonizing for me. They were so hard. It would have been great to be great first. The problem is it doesn't work that way. I would have never been great first. I needed the experience of recording those trainings. I needed the experience of recording live Facebook live videos after that. I needed the experience of recording live podcasts week after week after week. I needed the experience of recording trainings for my audience and running group call after group call after group call over the last few years. I needed all the stumbles. I needed all the mistakes. I needed all the times I felt inadequate. I needed all the times that it felt hard and scary. I needed each one of those repetitions to get to a place where it felt natural, where I felt confident, where I could celebrate along the way, where it felt a lot easier. There was no shortcut to getting to the place of how I felt recording these trainings the last few weeks. I needed all the previous recordings. I needed all the previous efforts. One of the reasons I'm great at sales is I've held thousands of sales calls. If I counted all sales calls, not just high ticket coaching calls, all sales calls I've held in my life since I was 18 years old, I've held well over 10,000 sales conversations. And when you think about that number, all of those repetitions, it allows me to step into a sales conversation and feel confident, to feel at ease, to feel comfortable. Now, you probably don't need 10,000 to feel the way that I feel. You don't need 10,000 efforts to feel confident, although you'll be better at number 10,000 than you'll be prior to 10,000 efforts. Here's what I want you to consider. If you're thinking in smaller numbers, if you're thinking about your first sales call and it's feeling big and scary, I want you to know the 5th call will feel so much easier than the first. And even at the 5th call, it might feel big and scary. And the 10th is going to feel easier than the 5th. And the 20th is going to feel easier than the 10th. And the 50th call will feel so much easier than the 20th call. And at 100 sales calls, wow, you'll have come a long way. Wow, you'll have built a lot of confidence. Wow, you'll have gotten more comfortable with your language. You'll be so much better. You'll have reached a first level of mastery for sure by your 100th sales call, maybe sooner than that. But we need the repetitions. There's no shortcut around it. Repetition is the key to mastery. And so if you want to be great at anything, recording trainings, public speaking, sales, marketing, podcasting, videos, etc., you're going to have to find the courage to take the first step, to do it the first time imperfectly, and then to do it again, and then to do it again, and then to do it again. And then again, and then again, and then again, until you reach that first level of mastery, and then it starts to feel easier. And as you keep doing it, you'll get better, and you'll find the nuance, and you'll improve, and that's the path to mastery. There's no other way. Learning is great. Preparing is great. I'm into that. I love it. Practicing is great. But we also need to do the real work. We also need to put ourselves in the game to become better and to become great. Give yourself patience, love, and grace as you stumble forward through the first attempts at whatever you want to be great at. And know with certainty that if you just keep going, you just keep getting the reps in, eventually you're going to be great. God bless you. Let's hold ourselves to a standard of mastery and greatness, but know that to get there, we have to hold ourselves to a standard of imperfection. We have to allow ourselves to make mistakes. We have to allow ourselves to learn forward. We have to be bold and courageous enough to say yes to taking the next step, one at a time, again and again and again. That's the journey. I love you all. Talk to you soon.